Okay, good morning. So now this morning we are continuing with the reflecting on the teachings of the great Kadampa master Gesche Langri Thangpa and his 8 verses of the mind training. So these teachings, as I told you yesterday, are related to developing the bodhicitta. So bodhicitta means the enlightened mind, the mind which is on the path. Then it is without the mind of bodhicitta, it cannot be the path to realizing the absolute nature, the absolute truth, the enlightenment. So it is a must. Such a state of mind is very, very important. And this mind of bodhicitta or the bodhicitta, the mind of enlightened mind, so that is the seed, the nature of our very mind. That is the ground, that is the base. So because we have that enlightened mind, we can attain enlightenment. If we don't have that as our ground, the base, then we cannot become Buddha. So that is the ground, the seed. Without the seed of an apple, you cannot have the apple. So the seed of the apple has to be there. So that way, the enlightened mind is the seed. Our nature is the enlightened mind, and that is the seed. And then the path. So that way, the bodhicitta, the mind of the bodhi, the enlightened mind, it is in the ground level, in the seed level. It is very important. It is there. Because of that, enlightenment is possible. And on the path, because of the practice of the bodhicitta, enlightenment is possible. And at the fruition level, when we attain enlightenment, then the enlightened activity of liberating beings, so the Buddha activity, that is also possible because of this, the bodhicitta mind, the mind of the enlightened mind, so the bodhicitta. So in that way, then ground level, the path level, the fruition level, so all this bodhicitta is very important. So because of this bodhicitta, all this is possible. So now here the practice of the 8 verses. So it's all about the practice of the bodhicitta, developing the bodhicitta, the path of the bodhisattva, which is the bodhi, developing the bodhicitta. So here, relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta, as I told you yesterday. So the practice of the relative bodhicitta mainly shown here, and the end verse shows the ultimate bodhicitta. So without the developing the relative bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta cannot manifest. So through relying on the relative bodhicitta, then the ultimate bodhicitta will manifest, spontaneously manifest. So the quality of our enlightened mind, yesterday we discussed and we practiced also, So you remember the 3 qualities of the mind? Anybody? Wisdom, compassion, and loving kindness. Yes. So loving kindness, awareness, and wisdom. And these limitless loving kindness, compassion, limitless awareness, limitless wisdom, that is the bodhicitta, the mind of bodhicitta. So how to develop this? there are many methods which are shown here. So normally methods like equalizing self and others. So, self, others, equalizing means seeing equal, Normally we are always, our central point is always self. We only see self. So from there, all problems arise also. All our problems, if we examine, is always not content with this, always problem with the self, want this, want that, not enough for this, not enough for that, always for self. So then, always unhappy, always, there's never end to our greed, need, because of always self-centered. So here, I'm not saying self is bad, self is not important, self is, terrible, you should look down upon yourself. Not that, I don't mean that. I already told you, this self, the true self, is limitless loving kindness, compassion, limitless awareness, limitless wisdom, the mind of the enlightened, the enlightened mind. So how can that be bad? But because of ignorance, we are not able to recognize that quality of who we truly are, and we mistake that with the self, I, which is with aversion, ignorance, craving, ego, pride, jealousy, and through these then create the solid I, which is permanent, which is, a solid entity, singularity, independent, and have grasping onto that I, which is actually beyond such a limited thing. It is so beautiful, it is so limitless potential, but we become so little. As I told you, there are 8 billion others there, and there's only one I here when you hold on to such a thing. So that becomes so limited, it becomes so powerless, because of this ignorance. So isn't that so unfair to self? It is very unfair to self. That is not who you really are. That is not how weak you are. That is not how powerless you are. But we hold on to this, make ourselves so powerless, so weak, so, low because of ignorance. So this is what we mean by, trying to develop, seeing through such practice, we gradually develop the essence, the true self, gradually let that manifest. So this way, then when you have a strong grasping onto the self, I, then there is a strong others, it is duality, concept, such limitations. Then there is lots of limitations. And one is not able to truly go beyond. So this way, there's limitations. Then gradually when you see self and others equal, what happens? Then that barrier is lessened. It's lighter. And through that, your activity becomes wider. Your potential becomes greater because there's less barrier, less limitation. For example, even in like a material world, in terms of whatever, whether it is politics, whether it is your business, whether it is whatever. If a person has a very strong self-centered attitude, only look at I, what I need, what I feel, what I want, only like that, you cannot function. You will not have any staff to work for you. Even if you have, they will not, give 100% because you don't care for them. You are only self-centered. Same way with politics. If you are a leader of such, cannot become, because only I, first of all, you will not win the election also, because if all your manifesto is only I, me, mine, cannot, right? So that way, it's so limited. Then above that, if you think of self and others together, then it is better. The power is much more greater. And then the next level is if your, state of mind is always working for others, well-being of others, yourself not first, but others first, then naturally, everybody start to appreciate you. You become like the point of positive energy for everybody. Whether it is your business, if you do your business for the well-being of others, that is how, everyone appreciate, and it will work well. Through skillful means, if you really do it for others, because everybody wants something, so why would they get your, let's say, product? Is because it should benefit them. So if genuinely benefiting them, then they will get from you that, they will buy or they will get or whatever. So like this, even in any field, any worldly field also, so if the direction, the intention is for truly benefiting others, then it will be successful in that terms. So like that, so next, seeing others more important than oneself has a greater reach, a greater presence, a greater energy this way. Then, beyond all of that, where there is no more self and others, it is beyond even others and beyond self. That is the total enlightenment, where there is no more such limitations. Like, remember Tara said, that when she attained high realization, then the Sangha told her that now, since you have attained such high realization, you can manifest even as a male to benefit beings. And then she said, this male, female, everything is a concept. It is the concept which makes everything so limited, and binds one to this samsara. So purposely to break free from such limitations, concept, I will remain as a female to benefit beings. So like that. So everything is concept which binds us to such limitation. So when one moves beyond all that, then that is the true enlightenment. So now, this way, then, how to develop the mind of the equanimity or equalizing self and others is through understanding, recognizing, and seeing that all sentient beings, like yourself, have this Buddha nature that we have been talking about, this mind of the Bodhi, enlightened mind. Our potential is limitless. We have our nature as compassionate, loving kindness, wisdom, awareness. So all these are our qualities. Not only yourself, but all sentient beings have this quality. So in that sense, everybody have this Buddha nature in them. So equal, like Buddha Shakyamuni, I have that same quality. And like myself, all other sentient beings have that same quality. So in that sense, everybody is equal. In essence, everybody is equal. So this way, every sentient being is Buddha in essence. So no matter how wonderful the person is or how bad a person is, in essence they are Buddha. So the bad person not able to recognize his or her nature, the true nature, because of ignorance. So totally misjudge, misrecognize this quality, the enlightened quality of the Buddha as, the wisdom, the awareness, the loving kindness, compassion, totally misjudge, misrecognize as I, and ego, pride, jealousy, aversion, the craving, ignorance arise. And in that, then act in such a way. But in the deeper level, this person is, its true nature, true potential is limitless. It is Buddha. So we learn to respect everybody. We learn to appreciate everybody. We learn to recognize this quality, equanimity of everybody. So that is true compassion. That is true loving kindness, compassion. There's no difference in sentient beings. Even though some beings are of, act in certain way, we don't differentiate them. Understanding this, and to able to develop true loving kindness, compassion to all. And then in the relative level also, as I told you yesterday, we all sentient beings, irrespective of who we are, from where we are, what kind we are, we all wish to be happy. We all wish to be free from suffering. But because of ignorance, we don't recognize how to create the cause and conditions for happiness. And we are always creating the cause and conditions for suffering. So in that respect, then when we truly see this, then we develop genuine loving kindness, compassion for all sentient beings. Because all sentient beings like yourself wish to be happy, don't wish to suffer. So that is equal in all of us, same in all of us. So, as I told you, loving kindness, compassion. So loving kindness is the wish to be happy, and the compassion is wish to be free from suffering. So that is loving kindness, compassion. So let us do a short meditation on this loving kindness, compassion through the equanimity or the equalizing self and others. Okay, so now just rest for a while. Keep our spine straight. At the same time, relax all the muscles, the tension on the body. Just relax. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, let go of everything, and with that, just be with the body, the sensation, the gravity of the body, the weight. So just feel that and be with that as it is, and relax in that. Then we develop genuine, pure, sincere intention to recognize and realize our innate potential, this absolute self, the limitless potential, the Buddha nature, which is our nature, which is the nature of all sentient beings, the true nature of all of us and sentient beings. So, genuinely wanting to realize that, for that purpose, then we wish to do this meditation, we wish to develop bodhicitta, we wish to do the practice, so that we can realize our potential, and through this we can benefit beings to realize their potential. Now, with this, then we recite the refuge and bodhicitta slowly, one time. When you have time, you can recite 3 times. So today, because of the time, we just do 1 time, but slowly and nicely. Sanje chudan soje chonam la chancho bardo dane chasunji dage jin sonje be sunamji drolam penshir sanje drombarasho. All limitless thoughts. O semjen tamjen devadan deve jodan dembora churji donghalan ji jodan tawar churji donghalan mebe andewa Thangpa dang pende waran churji Nyere ancha dang nyi dang chave Anyan chenpo la nibaran churji. Just do a short shamatha on the breath as we did yesterday. So here no need to count the breath, but just be aware of the breath going in and out. Now, maintaining this calm, abiding state of mind with awareness, then we try to feel the loving kindness and compassion that resides within each and every one of us. If you find it difficult to connect with these feeling of loving kindness, compassion, then recognize that, acknowledge that, this feeling itself in the deeper level is the compassionate experience of itself. You want to feel the loving kindness, compassion, but you are not able to feel the loving kindness, compassion. So that is actually the essence of compassion. Compassion is the wish to be free from suffering, wish to be free from the unwanting sensation or unwanting feeling or whatever. So this way we wish to feel the loving kindness, compassion, but we are not able to. So that is, in the deeper level, that is compassion. And if you can feel the loving kindness, compassion, then that is, acknowledge that, and that is loving kindness. Deeper level is the loving kindness. Loving kindness is the wish to be happy and the causes of happiness. And now let us wish that may all sentient beings be happy and have the causes of happiness. So when I say all sentient beings, that includes yourself also. And let us wish that may all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. and acknowledging that though we all have this wonderful nature, we don't recognize it. Though we want to be happy, we create suffering for ourselves and others in the cycle of existence. Therefore, we wish that may all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness, and may all beings be free of suffering and the causes of sufferings. Okay, now just rest in that state of virtuous mind for a while. And we make a short dedication. Usunam de thamje zibani thomne nyebe danam phamche ne chega nanji balab chubai sebe sole roa do. Just rest for a while. Okay, so now based on this, then we go through the first verse, which is it says Dani semchen thamche la hijin norbu le hapi thuncho rubi sambai tado chepan zimbasho. So thinking of all sentient beings as being more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, with the intention of achieving the supreme goal, may I at all times hold them dear to my heart. So here it says that, it is cultivating the right view, the right way of, perceiving others. So here it says that thinking of all sentient beings as being more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. So wish-fulfilling jewel here means something that gives you, happiness, temporary happiness, like whether it may be wealth, whether it may be power, whether it may be fame. So these all are temporary, and most of the time these are, these become the source to our next problem. But here it says the sentient beings become the source to achieving the supreme goal for oneself. So here supreme goal means the enlightenment, the absolute self, the limitless potential of oneself and others. So that is the supreme goal here. So, which is absolute truth, realization of the absolute truth. So this is possible because of sentient beings. So, as I told you, the mind of the bodhicitta, it is the path to enlightenment, the absolute truth, realization of the absolute truth. So, one can only practice the bodhicitta when there is other sentient beings. If there is no sentient beings to whom to practice the bodhicitta, then how do you practice bodhicitta? So sentient beings is so very important for one's path. In order to experience even like happiness, avoid suffering, we need to create the cause and conditions for happiness and avoid the cause and conditions for suffering. So which means we need to create the virtuous karma, the good karma, avoid the negative karma. So that is possible because of sentient beings. We need to, for example, the practice of the paramitas, like whether it is generosity, whether it is patience, whether it is ethic, whether it is discipline, whether it is meditative concentration, whether it is wisdom. So all this is possible because of sentient beings. If there's no sentient being, who do you practice generosity to? If there's no sentient being, who do you practice patience with? So everything is because of sentient beings that one's own path, one can elevate because of the because of the sentient beings. So therefore, they become a must on one's path to the absolute realization. Even in our day-to-day life, for our own survival, we are dependent on others. One cannot survive independently. Impossible. In order to survive, we have to have, we are dependent on so many things. So others are so important. Without others, one cannot survive also. So this way, then seeing all this, even in our worldly sense, others are so important. Then in the deeper level, realization of the absolute truth, then others are very, very important. Sentient beings are the most important, most precious to one's path to liberation. So seeing all that, then holding others very dear, very precious to one's heart is very important. So that is the practice. That is one very important practice, how to turn one's mind towards virtue or towards the liberation. So, like the great master Shantideva, he said that if you not aspire for the exchange of your happiness with the sufferings of others, then enlightenment is not possible. And not only that, even relative happiness in the samsara is not possible. So which means, this mind of well-being of others is very important. If you have a very self-centered attitude, self-centered mind, and then forget about enlightenment. Even in this world, you will not find much happiness. You will always counter problems, suffering because of this kind of attitude. Then the next, it says, Kauntu sutang dropitse dani kunle menta shing yen la samba thabai chotu chepan zimba show. So when I associate with whomsoever, may I see myself lower than all the others, and from the depth of my heart dearly hold others supreme or superior. Okay. So here it shows that in the journey of the liberation, realization on the path, then one faces many challenges. So how to deal with the challenges? So here, when you see, like saying, may I see myself lower than all others and others more superior, immediately, our habit is such that we are so habituated to this self-centered attitude, the importance of self, that this sentence doesn't really resonate with our mind. We think, why should we see ourselves lower? Why should we see others, superior? That is how our mind works normally. And these are the challenges that we face on the path. And these are skillful methods how to tackle those challenges. As I told you, our potential, our essence is Buddha. So in that aspect, of course, it doesn't mean that we are inferior, others are superior, not in that aspect, if you understand. That is why we did just now, the practice before this I start, So, in our essence, we are Buddha. But because of our ignorance, then such self-centered attitude, holding on to this I, the importance, and this kind of thing, then what happens is we are unable, it obscures us from recognizing this quality of the true self, and we misread that, misjudge that, misunderstand that with craving, aversion, ego pride, jealousy, and that is ignorance. Like in the Chunju, the Chunju, the Bodhisattva, how is it translated, Chunju? Bodhisattva's way of life by Shantideva. So he says, that all the harm in the universe, all the fears and sufferings one experiences, all this is brought about by the clinging on to the idea of I, me, mine, so on and so forth. So what is the use of such a great harmful, Gesche? De is, of course, like a ghost, evil, something that harms, right? So what is the use of clinging on to this thing which harms you so much, he says, so like that. So this, normally we think, this I, me, mine protects you, is important for you. But in another way, that is the cause of so many confusion, so many problems. The bigger I you have, the bigger ego you have, the bigger, self-centered attitude you have, you find more problems, always unhappy, always unsatisfied, always, have problems with others, like that. But normally if you have a kind-natured, mind, a mind which always look for the well-being of others, care for others, like that kind of a mind, then there's harmony amongst all. There's appreciation, natural appreciation from others towards you. You don't need to look for that appreciation. It automatically is there. So this way you are happy, others are happy, everybody is happy. There's a very famous saying, that wealth of wisdom cannot be sustained on a ball of ego. So ball is ball, round. No matter how much you pour water, it cannot sustain, right? Everything will flow. So same way, it says that the wealth of wisdom cannot be sustained, on the ball of ego. So if your ego is like that, then no wisdom you will not be able to sustain any wisdom. I give you a simple example. Like we all have been in school, right? When we are small. And as we grow, then university, then we are still learning in the process. So if we have a mind, when we go to school, we know that the teacher knows more than us. We respect that, we understand that. So we go there with a mind, wanting to learn from the teacher, because we know the teacher knows more. We don't have ego, that I know more than the teacher, I'm better than the teacher. So when you are with that kind of mind, you can learn from the teacher. You can learn so many things. But if you have a mind which says, I know more than the teacher, then you cannot learn. Teacher tell you something, you will think, no, that is wrong. And nothing can go through. But when you have the teacher to teach you, then when you think this way, then even if teacher point out the mistakes in you, the limitations in you, you are not affected. You don't get angry. In fact, you learn. You are happy, that your mistakes are, when you do something and not able to get the answer, then the teacher show you where's the mistake, what happened. You are able to accept that. There's no hurt in that. There's no, problems with that. So like that. So if you, same way, if we are open to everybody, respect everybody, open mind to learn from others, see others, more knowledgeable like that, you can learn so many things. Even from a child, you can learn many things if you are open with that kind of mind. with that kind of open mind. You can learn from a child, even from daily situations that one experiences. Like, for example, when you go traffic light, traffic light, sometime, it is green, but when you reach, it become red, then very upset. But it teaches you patience, it gives you time to step back, learn some patience, so like that, so you can learn so many things if your mind is open. But if your mind is blocked with ego, with all that, then it becomes very difficult, so like that. So here, this kind of practice, the training the mind or recognizing is very important. Then the next, the third, it says, Cholam kundu rangjo la ta ji nyomong chema tha daje marung shepe na chentap dong ne dok parsho. So in all activities, by examining my mental continuum, and as soon as afflictive emotions arise, which are pernicious to self and others, may I forcefully confirm and avert them. So here it is showing that one must be mindful all the time, looking always at the state of one's mind, So this is very important. It says, Cholam kundu. So at all times, all activity. So activity is, what we are saying, what we are thinking, what we are doing. So all these three activities, then one must always be mindful. Like, one of the great master, he said, that when you are in an assembly, be mindful of what you say, the words. You must control your mouth. And when you are alone, then you must be mindful of your mind, what you think. So that is very important. Normally, we don't take care of our mouth, and that is the door or the gate to a lot of problems, So we say whatever we feel like, or, without being mindful, and then, everything gets, very confusing from there. So we must take care this way, be mindful of our words, be mindful of our thoughts, be mindful of our action. And here it clearly shows that everything is a habit, building of habit. So therefore, if one is not careful, and if one is influenced continuously by not healthy habits, then that become a habit, and then becomes very difficult to stop. Or so therefore it says, from beginning being mindful and seeing that when these kind of harmful habits arise, and then to block it immediately with mindfulness is very important. So if you can do that, then before a strong habit is built, if one can stop that, then it is easier. So with anything, whether it is like say alcohol, smoking, all these are all habit, So you never born drunkard, isn't it? As a child, you are not born drinking or smoking, but gradually with habit, with ignorance, not recognizing the, the harm of the alcohol, the cigarettes to your, very being, not seeing that, and sometimes understanding also, but deeper level you understand not good. But because of, your habit in the surface level, somehow, you undergo your, the desire. And then, most of the time, people who smoke understand it is not good for them. You see in the cigarette packets nowadays, they have all kind of pictures put there. So they see those pictures more than people who don't smoke. But even their mind says, don't, inside, deeper level says don't smoke, but they cannot resist, so like that, so when habit is formed strongly, then very difficult to stop, so even if you know it is not right, somehow you, most of the time you fall prey to it. So before that, then if you can stop from before, it's very important. So here it says, to be mindful and to stop from such habit developing is very important. So here, of course, it's talking about our, the state of mind. So here we hold on to things as singular, real, singular, independent, permanent. So like that, and then hold on, grasp onto things like this, and that is not the reality, but that is how. For example, the cigarette, so the image of the cigarette, we hold on to singular as, it is something, we don't see that this smoking of cigarette is many things put together in reality. For example, the image, create an image which is, like maybe you started with some movies, or maybe somebody smoking looks very cool, and very nice, and like this, so you make that image kind of a thing. Then you visualize, then that is the, the reasoning, that by smoking you look very cool, or, you look very like this, like that. Then you feel like this, like that. So, reasoning, then beliefs, so all that put together become that, otherwise by itself is free of such thing. Without the image, you don't have that cigarette. Without that belief, reasoning, it is not there. That urge doesn't develop. So all this then create that urge, create that image, create that, picture and everything, so the thing is created. And then we think that pleasure of smoking the cigarette always remain there, but it is not, it's just a temporary pleasure. And that also change, to the next, so many problems, so we don't see that, and we see this thing of smoking will give us lasting pleasure, and doesn't change, so permanent, so like that, so many things like that, grasping, basically, then that creates this grasping onto a solid, thing like that. And this is, so through this, then create habit, and, and then that habit become strong, and then we fall. So like this into that habit. So here, then, so this is an example, but here more is like, so that is craving. So craving, whether it is, aversion, craving, whether it is ignorance, jealousy, ego, pride, so all those, so here it is talking about all that, when one arises these, afflictions, kleshas, then one must recognize them and immediately try to, counter them with a virtue mind, a mind, which is virtue. So here the main point is, being mindful and immediately working on that. That is important. Not saying I will do it tomorrow, I will do it day after, not like that, immediate. So that is very important. Like practice meditation also. Normally your mind says, okay, I want to meditate. But when you sit to meditate, you say, oh, I'm feeling a little tired, my body is hurting, maybe tomorrow I will do, tomorrow I will manage to do, I have more time, today I'm busy, like that, and then tomorrow. Then when tomorrow comes, day after, like that, then becomes a habit, so you never get down. And then when, supposing, if then, the time goes in the evening, then you regret, I should have just done 5 minutes, now tomorrow I will do, so like that, so inside, it really, in the deeper level, it is, because we have that quality of able to, how do you say, able to, we have the potential to achieve anything. But in the surface level, because of these habits, not able to achieve. So we feel, not happy, certain sense of guilt, certain sense of unhappiness. Why? Because that is not who you really are. That is not your potential. Your potential is you have that ability, you could do it. But because of the super superficial, the surface level you got, because of these habits. So how to develop is by being mindful and immediately, working on that rather than keeping it for later. So that is very important. So in any action one does, one must be this way. So whatever in your day-to-day life, in your practice, whatever it is. So whenever one develops these, the kleshas arise, then immediately work with them, and turn your mind from a negative mind to a positive mind, a self-centered mind to a more caring, kind mind. So like this. Then next it says, Rangjin ngembi semchen ni digdu chabu nan tongce rinchen ter dang che bajin nye parkawe jinzin sho. So when I see beings with unwholesome nature, afflicted with grave sins and suffering, these words I don't really resonate with, but anyway. Like finding precious treasures, may I dearly cherish them as if they are hard to find. Here what do you say? Is it written sins? Afflicted with grave sins. Sins is like non-virtue actually. Yeah, sins doesn't sound right. So here, especially this is for a bodhisattva or a bodhicitta practitioner of the bodhicitta practice. This is very important. So here, Rangjin Ngembi Semjen means beings who have a very negative attitude. Beings who have lots of anger, lots of ego, pride, lots of jealousy, lots of aversion, lots of attachment like this. So such beings, it says Rangjin Ngembi Semjen, who have these kind of habits, then Digdu Trabu Nan Tongse. So through those kind of habits, then they actually create problems for themselves and for others. Digdu Trabu, through that, then they create problem for themselves. As I said, a very strong self-centered attitude, always I, you are never happy, and you create problem for everybody. Supposing you come in here, nothing is working for you. Somebody is sitting somewhere nicely, you want to be seated there. There's a window there, somebody is there, you want to sit there. You don't want others. And then when you are there, you find it's not comfortable, you want to shift somewhere else. Then if there is some aircon, you don't want the aircon, you want it to be put off. If the aircon is put off, you want it to be on, and not care for others, like this, So you are never happy, when you have such a self-centered attitude, always, thinking of me, and you habit, then through that habit is created, and through this habit, then becomes very strong grasping onto things, very sensitive, very narrow-minded, very difficult, not flexible, so you become such a person, and that brings lots of, suffering for oneself, oneself is not happy then naturally, through these. And it brings, not very nice environment for others also. So, that way then, through such non-virtue mind, then creates, lots of confusion, problems for oneself and others. So, Digdu Thakpu Nön Tongse. And so, when you see such beings, then it says, one must look at this being as a precious, rinchen ter dante, like one who has come across, something that is so precious, like a precious treasure. Why? Because it says, normally, we all have this problem in different levels, of course, the more ego pride we have, and then that creates problems. We don't see the, shortcomings in us. We refuse to see the shortcomings in us. So that blocks our growth. So when it blocks our growth, we ourselves are suffering from that. And everyone who is who is like, who want to please us will say nice things, you are wonderful, you are great, you are like this, like that. Then you always, as it is, you have this, limitation, your ego, pride, then that is getting fed more and more, So Many of the powerful people, when they start in the beginning, most of them have good intention, or good, most, have a good intention or good idea. That is how they get to the place, of importance. But gradually, with power, then, they are blinded, with power, with fame, with all that. Everybody saying, around them, feeding their ego, feeding their, then they are totally blinded, They only like this, so nobody show the real face. Nobody, willing to show the mirror to them, so like this. Then after some time, they don't see the reality. They are beyond the reality. They think like, how do you say? Even a normal person with common sense, can understand, it is so wrong, but they themselves don't understand, don't recognize. They think they are like superhuman, or how to say, like gods, don't have any right and wrong, cannot differentiate right and wrong because of like this, too much. So it says, in such thing, then those who really show you the mirror, and show, who you are, then that really gives you the, how do you say, the space to develop, to see your faults, and to come down to, how do you say, come down to ground, and be grounded, and continue to develop on the path. So therefore, and as a bodhisattva, then the name, we say Changchup Sempa. Sempa means the one with the brave mind. Brave means, the mind which can take on all difficulty for the benefit of, all beings. So like that, so no matter how difficult a situation is, no matter how difficult a person is towards you, you always look at the positive side. It gives you the opportunity to develop yourself, become a better person than what you are now. So this way, then one must practice and change one's mind towards such, view, such practice, such outlook, as a person trying to achieve the absolute liberation, and then that is the very important practice. So that is the fourth. Then the next it says, Dala yenji chado ki shekur laso mirikbi chonka rangi lembadang jaka yenla bulwarsho. So when others out of jealousy wrongly disparage and slander me or oneself, etc., may I take upon myself the defeat and respectfully offer victory to them. So this is like a practice of, like patience. So I think this is not very difficult to understand. Right? So now the next one is Kangla da ki penta pi rewa chewa kangshi ki shindu mirik nöje la shenyen thamba tawarsho. So even if someone that I benefited and had great hope in that person gravely mistreat and cause harm to me, may I view him or her as a sublime teacher. So the previous one is, we are dealing with danzin, self-centered attitude. So through patience, you are counter-attacking your antidote for self-centered attitude, strong danzin. And so that is why taking, the defeat and giving victory to others, so that is antidote of self-centered attitude, ego pride. Okay. So now the sixth stanza shows, even if someone that I benefited and had great hope in that person gravely mistreat and cause harm to you, then may I view him as a sublime teacher. So here it is the practice of generosity. The true generosity is, with the mind of letting go. So when you do anything, you do sincerely with most genuine heart, with and no strings attached to. So that is called mind of letting go. If you are able to do that, that is genuine generosity. If not, you have strings attached to that, then that is kind of business, isn't it? Give and take. So that's business. Normally, we do many good things, in our day-to-day life. We do many things, but if not careful, we always have, some strings attached to that, and that makes our very virtuous action become so, it diminishes our virtuous action. So if we can do anything wholeheartedly with the mind of letting go, then our action, the virtuous action, can really be virtuous. Otherwise, sometimes we do very good action, and that action, because we have so much strings attached to that action itself becomes the source of our next confusion, next problems, next suffering. So it can be like that, so it doesn't need to be this way. So that way, the size of the action is not very important. The depth of the mind of letting go is important. So even if it's a small action, if you can really do with a genuine mind of letting go, wholeheartedly, sincerely, only one way, that is very powerful. That is very virtuous. If you do something big, but with a lot of strings attached to that, then, that is okay. But then it really doesn't become a very powerful virtue. It can become a lot of, suffering for oneself also. So, like example is given, that when parents take care of their small children, like babies, the child doesn't understand, so when a child is sick, and when the parents are trying to feed the child with medicine, then the child refuses to eat the medicine and then show tantrum, crying and fussing and all that. But the parents genuinely, truly caring for the child and seeing the benefit of the medicine, will overlook all the, tantrum and all that of the child, and will even develop more kindness, more patience, more, care for the child, and do all kind of, tricks and methods to feeding the child. You will not hold on to the child's, tantrum towards you. So like that, so when one faces people with such action towards you, like unfavorable action, then it says one shouldn't, hold on to such a thing, and see them even more, precious to you, because, and help them wholeheartedly, and do whatever you can, big or small, do whatever you can to benefit others, and in turn you are benefiting yourself, because as I said, our deeper level, we are compassionate, we are, loving, our nature is positive, beautiful, we are Buddha, so we are connecting with that, and when we connect with that, it will naturally make us happy, it will naturally give us, confidence, will give us that fulfilling, it will naturally happen, and that is true sustainable happiness. Then next it says, Dornang uitan jubai pende manam kun lambul mai nötang dunghal kun sangwe dala lembarjo. So in short, so in brief, it's saying now all in brief, whether it be directly or indirectly offering benefits and happiness to all mother sentient beings, and may I in return discreetly receive all the harm and sufferings of mother sentient beings is the practice. So here again, so these are the practice, so not word to word direct like that, but we have to understand the meaning behind this. So it is saying whether we can help others, directly, like if somebody is having some problem, so if you can truly help them directly, whether it is, whatever, or indirectly is through the state of mind, genuinely wishing that such and such beings are elevated from their difficulties, they can overcome such difficulties, they can have happiness, and truly wishing, truly dedicating to them, one's merit like this, one's kind heart like this. So by doing such, or indirectly, if you can, say something and help them through saying something or doing something indirectly. So whatever it is, it says one must do that, and one must help others like that. And even if one faces difficulty in doing that, then one must be brave, one must be, strong to take up challenges, to build that kind of mind, a virtuous mind, a kind mind, a mind which benefits others, which looks for the well-being of others over self-centered mind. So one must build that kind of a mind, it says. And here it says one must secretly practice. So secretly means not loud, not like, for example, there can be obstacles then. For example, like a practitioner who do practice, regularly, doing well, meditation and all that. So discreetly one should do and develop. Otherwise, what it says is, if you do openly, loudly, I'm doing practice, show everybody, or doing something good, and then show everybody, I'm doing like this, I'm doing like that, then what happens is, then people praise you. People say nice things to you. And the problem is, we are so habituated to, this I, me. Then again, ego pride arise, and then ego pride happens, then again all your hard work, go down. Then next time you will say, someone will say, oh, you did like that, but so and so didn't appreciate your work, like that. Then first you don't have that thought, but that thought will come, oh yes, why? How come? Then again a headache, So like that, whatever you do, discreetly doing is very important. Then you avoid many obstacles. What I mean, maybe, when you do something, then somebody, if you are very open, very loud, say, I'm doing like this, I'm doing like that, and make people, not discreet. Then people will say, oh, you are such a wonderful person, you did such and such. And then first you don't have expectation of somebody recognizing your, whatever you do. Then your work is first one way, a mind of letting go. But then people will say, oh, you did like that, but nobody appreciate your work, or like this and like that. People talk, gossip. And then you might think, oh yes, I did like that, but nobody is appreciating. Why should I do? Then like this danger of, the mind with, the attachment comes, so like that. So it says, Thada kunjang chujeji tobe time mabashing. So by all these, the above, aspirations, remaining undefiled by the 8 worldly concerns, so all these practice should be free from, the gains of the worldly dharma, so it should be genuine, with a genuine mind of benefiting others, with a genuine loving kindness, genuine compassion, genuine well-being for others, so it must be dedicated that way, and not, with the mind of benefiting oneself, worldly dharma, like for example, gain of praise, gain of, like pleasure, gain of, so like that, fame, not like that. And then next, the last line shows the ultimate bodhicitta, which is the understanding of, through the understanding of emptiness nature. So, and by recognizing all phenomena as illusion, may I, without clinging and attachment, be liberated from the, the bondage. So here, of course, it is talking about the emptiness nature. So everything is like an illusion. Everything is. So when you say emptiness, means everything is free from this reality as we perceive things to be. Like a real, solid, permanent, unchanging. So it is free from such a reality. Yet it doesn't mean that it is not existing. Doesn't mean nothing is there. It can appear. Everything appear, yet free from such reality. So that is emptiness. So like illusion. Like dream. When you are having a dream, as long as you are in the dream, you don't recognize the dream, it is happening. You can experience everything in the dream. If you are, supposing you fall down from a cliff, you will really experience the fear, of falling down the cliff. If you are stamped by a car, you will feel that. If you eat a very nice ice cream, you will be very happy. You can taste the sweetness of the ice cream. Everything is real, But is it real? It is a dream. But as long as you are in the dream, it is real. But when you know it is a dream, that doesn't, it's not real, it is a dream. So, because it is a dream, it doesn't have to not be there, it is very much can experience. And because you can experience doesn't mean it has to be real. So it is beyond such, real or not real. So emptiness means that. So everything is like that. So this is a big, illusion also. This is a big dream. Where if you really examine this self, I, me, where is it? You cannot find. If you examine this, such thing called glass, if you really examine, you will not find. Glass is just a name, and it is just a shape which depend on so many things, a concept created, and all that. So this way, everything is like an illusion. So when you recognize this, then here it says, Chukun Jumarshi Bilu, one is free from this grasping of such limitations of concept, perception, the conceptual, grasping. So this is the ultimate bodhicitta, where when one recognizes, the one who is doing the action, the one to whom you are doing the action, and the action itself, it is in the state of emptiness, it is in the nature of emptiness. So it is beyond me here, you there, and doing something, so it is beyond that. Everything becomes oneness, so that is oneness, so that is beyond limitations. So that is the true bodhicitta, the ultimate bodhicitta. So you get there, as I told you yesterday, with the relative bodhicitta. First doing all the practice of the relative bodhicitta, then the distance between self and others, gradually become closer and closer. And then when one and self become one, then that is, the ultimate bodhicitta. So through practical, we have to practice like this. Theoretically, we can study, of course, we can understand what is emptiness, what is, illusion, all this we understand. But just understanding is not enough. We have to apply it. And how to apply? Through the practice of relative bodhicitta, then gradually. Okay, we stop here. We are late. So we do a short dedication. And there are some questions that I will answer later, in the next session. Sonam di thamje zibani thomne nyebe danam phamje chega naje balab chubai sebe zole rowa sho om benzer sado samaya manu balaya benzer sado dino ita ndido membawa sudo kayo membawa subo chayo memba Anurado membawa sarvaside medrayaja sarva karma sujame zerdam chiriya kuru hung ha ho bhagavan sarva tatha gata benzar mam munza benzarambawa mahasamaya sado